So today we're going to talk about the books that define me. These are the books that got me into reading, the books that define genres for me, make me obsessed with these genres to the point where that's basically all I read now. And books that just like made me who I am as a reader today. I thought it'd be a nice idea to talk about these books because some of them don't get the hype that they absolutely deserve, while some of them nowadays are a bit, you probably shouldn't talk about them too much. But still, let's talk about them and hopefully you find a new book that you want to read. And if you do, then please let me know. So the book that got me back into reading is Ready Player One. During my time at university, I just didn't care about reading anymore. I would read a lot as a teenager and then got to university and like kind of enjoyed this whole new life. I was on my own. I just wanted to be with my friends and do my course and all that sort of stuff. And if it wasn't the fact that I went into Waterstones with a few friends, I was like, all right, while I'm here, I'll find a book and we'll see how it goes. And Ready Player One had just been, I think it was just released. It was on a special table. And I thought, sick, I'm doing a gaming course. Let's read a book about games. And it hit so different for me back then. To me, it was the perfect book to get me back into reading. Like, it had all these 80s references, it had gaming like facts, it had all the games that you could ever think of, and bringing back them great memories you had as a kid while playing games and being able to read about it and have that same feeling just hit so different that it kind of like kickstarted that thing in my brain that was like, shit, I've not read for like 2, 3 years. I've missed this. This is great. I managed to devour this book, well, one of the older version of this book, in 2 days. And when you do the full time degree and try to have a social life, kind of hard to keep that up. But yeah, I cancelled a few plans. I wanted to sit and I wanted to read and I wanted to know every little thing that this book had got to give because it was just so good to me at the time that I just couldn't put it down. And this is the whole reason I have a YouTube channel that has a TikTok page and that sort of stuff because I want to talk more about books. We're going to go on to genres now, and one of the books that got me into thrillers and got me obsessed with this genre, with all the twists and the turns, is written by an author that's known for romance. And it's a little bit embarrassing to talk about it, and it's also not great because Colleen Hoover doesn't write good books. But for some reason, Verity for me just hit so different. It was all obviously so hyped during TikTok, like during peak TikTok book talk era, to the point where like everyone was reading this book, and I was like, why is everyone reading this thriller? Like, what even is a thriller? Like, that was how new I was to the genre. I didn't even know what a thriller was. So I bought it, picked it up, and I loved it. I can't really lie. Like, literally to me, I read it in one sitting. Like, it was over 2 nights, but like, well, no, it was over 2 days technically. But I started like 10 p.m. I was reading until 2 a.m. because I just wanted to know everything because I was obsessed with like all the twists and turns that was happening and the way these characters all work together and the fact that I don't know, it just clicked something in my brain. And this is the sort of stuff that I actually really do enjoy to read. Don't really care about romance, but for some reason, this is somehow clicking. Why am I liking a Colleen Hoover book? It just didn't make sense to me. But at the same time, like, I don't know what it was about it that just helped me become obsessed with thrillers. And nowadays, it's like one of my favorite genres. It's what I want to read most of the time. I think it's slowly getting up there with like sci-fi and fantasy for me. That it's like sci-fi, fantasy, and then thrillers. Who knows? One day it might get up there and overtake them too. But it's all because of a stupid Colleen Hoover book that I actually like thrillers. And that doesn't feel right to say because this author does not write this sort of stuff very often. And when she does, half the time it's not very good. But it clicked here and I don't understand why. For me, sci-fi is one of them genres that is both really hard to get into and also somehow sort of easy to as well. Because as soon as you find that right book that clicks in your brain where you can get with each and every aspect of all the knowledge that you're about to be given because it's sci-fi, it hits so right. But that's the hard part. You have to find that book. And for me, there was a few others that are in there, like The Martian, Project Hail Mary, that sort of stuff. But for me, the book that I always come back to and always recommend to people if they're trying to find a sci-fi book to get into this genre with is Illuminae. And because it is not a normal sci-fi book, the way it is written, the way it is produced, you will not see this sort of stuff in your average sci-fi book. And yes, there is some absolutely amazing series out there right now, such as Aurora Rising. Nope, called Aurora Cycle. Also by the same authors. I've just realised that. The Sun Eater series, The Martian, I've got it, the Three Body Problem book series. I forgot what the series name is called, but This is where you should start if you're looking to get into sci-fi, because it has everything that you could possibly want out of it. It has great characters, it has twists, it has turns. It is written in a way that means that you're feeling like you're in a movie because you're moving the book up, down, left, right, twist it around, all the sort of shit to be able to get the full story out of this. And to me, adding that little bit of aspect into the book is fantastic because it means your audience is more engaged. It means you love it. And for some stupid reason, I got error tattooed on my hand for this exact thing. So yes, if you're looking for a sci-fi book to get into and to make you fall back in love with this genre, pick up Illuminae. It is fantastic. Another genre that I do like is darker / horror books. Like, don't get me wrong, not every dark book is a horror book, but not every horror book is a dark book. But I kind of put the two together because I couldn't think of a book that got me into horror, because the only thing I could really think that got me into the darker edge of books was Darren Shan's like The Saga of Larton Crespley. And this is not a horror by any sort of means, but it is dark to the point where, like, as you read this as a 14, 15-year-old, and you're reading about dark vampires, especially when like everyone else is reading about Twilight, you're here reading this about actual vampires. Actual vampires. But yeah, this to me, it was like dark and it was somewhat eerie to the point where you're like, oh, this is, why am I liking this? And then you read it, and then you read the next one, and then you finish the series, and you're like, oh shit, I need some more. So you buy the next, you buy Cirque du Freak, which is like the prequel series, and then you buy more by Darren Shan, and you go, oh, I need more. So you buy other horror books to try and get into that sort of thing. And it's kind of like, this to me was the gateway, because I love this. I still think this is one of the better quadologies I've ever read, because there's only 4 in this series, and I still think that is so high on the list right now. It's also the best vampire book I've ever read. I'm just saying, like, for me, vampires, they don't give it off because of Twilight. Vampires don't really scare me or do anything to my brain that makes me think, oh no, scary. But they did in this, and still, to me, it's so different because of that. And I can't thank this series enough for getting me into the darker side of books, because if it wasn't for this, I probably wouldn't read some of the stuff that I do. I probably wouldn't read thrillers, to be honest, because it would be too dark. I'd probably just still be a romance reader. Dark times, we're not going to talk about them dark times, but still. So yeah, if like for me, this sort of book defined me getting to the darker side of life, because I liked having that eeriness come against me, and it was all because of a book that's aimed for 12-year-olds. Yeah, great. Translated fiction is one of them genres that took me a while to get into, and the main reason for that is because I just couldn't find the right book that would click with me. And I tried a few that I'm not going to mention because it's not fair on the author for me to diss and that bad, because it didn't click in my head. But the one that got me is the one that has currently went viral, and everyone has read it because it's so good and it will make you cry. And that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And if you're looking to get into a new expansive library of books, translated fiction is perfect, and this is the best gateway I have found into it, because it gives you everything that translated fiction can offer. Beautiful stories, books, it'll make you cry, it'll give you some great storytelling, and yes, it is fantastic and everyone's read it, but there's a reason for that. It's because it's so good. And yes, once you get into this, there's other books that you can get into depending on your genre preferences. Like, you want a little bit of horror, Tender is the Flesh. If you want something a little bit weird, then you go with The Earthlings. If you want something that makes you think about each and everything, because you've got like a little bit of twists and turns and puzzles and all that sort of thing, then you got Strange Pictures. Like, from here, like, you can go so far with translated fictions. Like, if you want amazing storytelling, if you want certain other parts, if you want weirdness, if you want like normal fantasy, there's so much there. But for me, if you are wanting to see if you are going to like this genre, because the writing is a little bit different than from normal traditional English speaking people, due to the fact that obviously these people don't speak English, but it is translated into English, is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, because this shows you the sort of writing that you're going to be getting into, and shows you the power that it has and how it makes you feel while reading it. So yes, pick this up. It's not going to be an Aaron's Books video if we talk about books that made us who we are. If we don't talk about Skullduggery Pleasant. This book is the whole reason why I'm obsessed with fantasy. Actually, it's not even this book. It is book 4 in the series, Dark Days. I read this one first. Didn't know it was part of a series. I just saw this. I thought, she looked cool. She had a skull in her hand. Let's pick it up. Read it. I was like, who are all these characters? And then I was like, what the hell? Waiting to the store to get another one similar to it, because I knew there was like, at the time there was like 6 out. Like, I went, oh, this must be the first one. And I saw there was just one that said Skullduggery Pleasant. And I was like, bollocks, I kind of read the wrong one. So then I reread all of them. I read them all in order, got obsessed, and I'm still obsessed to this day. I love Skullduggery Pleasant. I love the humor. I love the sarcasm. I love the fight scenes. I love how it grew with the audience to the point where 12-year-old character in the first book, 25 plus in the latest book. And it's kind of good to see that you're not still reading about a 12-year-old after the series has been written for 20 years. I don't understand why people keep doing this with their characters. It makes no sense. Yes, you want to write for the younger audiences because that's the genre audience you're going for, but at the same time, you got people who read that and want to grow up with the books, but you're still making each character 12, and all this stuff happens to them when they're 12. It makes no fucking sense. I really hate it so much. Like Diary of the Wimpy Kid. It's been the same character for the same amount of time, the whole life cycle of the book, and no matter what you try and say, kind of pointless at this point because the guy should have aged at least 1 year. Same with The Simpsons, but we won't get onto that because I can rant all day about that apparently. But yeah, Skullduggery Pleasant. If you've not picked it up, then you are missing out on a great fantasy series. Yes, it's long. Yes, it's a little bit intimidating because of its size, but it reads really quickly. The fight scenes, the fantasy, the magic system, everything in it is fantastic. The characters are all amazing. Little hint, you're going to love Ghastly if you do read this, just saying. But yeah, if you're looking for a great fantasy series to pick up and it'll get you back into this genre if you're missing out on it so far, it's Golden Pleasant. I think finally for me, it's when we have to talk about something that I've recently got back into, but for some reason I was obsessed with it when I first started reading, but for some reason took quite a bit of like a gap between it all, and that is epic fantasy. For me, epic fantasy comes in so many different tiers to how you think it would be, because there's so many different parts of the world you can change that makes it go from like level 1 to level 2, because you've got like currencies, languages, magic systems, how everyday life is, and obviously mythical creatures that are involved, if there isn't any, because it can go so vast. And for me, the first book that got me into it and made me love just how much work goes into epic fantasy and how great it can be because you can delve into this world so deeply was Eragon. And for me, this is the wildest part of this was the fact that the author wrote this when he was like 16 years old. I read this past the edge the author wrote it, and I was obsessed. I read all the books. I absolutely loved each and every second of it. But for me, the way the writing in this is done by a 16-year-old just hit a new level for me. I think that did add to the fact that I'm loving this so much, and the guy is my age when writing this. That was the weird part. No, because I'm awful at it, but like at the same time, I loved the effort and the way this was written and the story and the magic system with the gems and stuff. I loved it. This is also one of the first fantasy books that introduced me to dragons, which I didn't think. Like when I started thinking about what books I wanted to include in this, and I was like, "What? Dragons is the main thing about fantasy." And the first book that came to mind was Eragon. And I tried to think, did I read anything else before this that had dragons? And it took me so long, and I couldn't really think of anything else that had dragons. And like I come back from reading like in 2010. This is the same sort of era as like Divergent, Hunger Games, and that sort of thing. This is when they were getting big. And for some reason, I was just obsessed with Eragon. Like, don't get me wrong, did read Hunger Games. I think it's fucking fantastic. But this to me just was a different level at the time. Like, the way this whole thing was working, the fantasy, and how I wanted to just sit there and read. And when you're how old was I? Like 15, 14, and being able to read like 500-page books, at that time you felt like a different sort of person because you're like, yeah, read 500 pages last night, bit different, and like trying to act cool at school. And then you kind of realize that no one actually cares about reading at school because all they care about is football. So, yeah. I wasn't the most popular kid, but we're going with it. So, yeah, this to me is a great way to try and figure out if you like epic fantasy. It still holds up to this day. Yes, the character's a little bit younger, but still, the way that it's written, you can't really tell. So yeah, pick this up. So yeah, those books are my favorite of certain genres, books that define me, books that made me into the reader I am today. So if there's any books in your list that you want me to know about, who knows, maybe I will pick them up and I will read them because I'm always looking for more recommendations to add to. The too many shelves I've probably already got, but at the same time, I want more books in my life. So let me know which books defined you as a reader, and I'll have a look and see if I like the sound of them, and I'll probably pick them up at some point. So yeah, see you next time. Peace out.